Good morning. This is the Paradise Unicorn Priestess, bringing you day 273 of A Course in Miracles, the Yin translation where we use female words. This would be September 30th if you're starting at the new year. Development of trust. First, they must go through what might be called a period of undoing. This need not be painful, but it usually is so experienced. It seems as if things are being taken away, and it is rarely understood initially that their lack of value is merely being recognized. How can lack of value be perceived unless the perceiver is in a position where she must see things in a different light? She is not yet at a point at which she can make the shift entirely internally. And so the plan will sometimes call for changes in what seem to be the external circumstances. These changes are always helpful. When the teacher of God has learned that much, she goes on to the second stage. Next, the teacher of God must go through a period of sorting out. That is always somewhat difficult because, having learned that the changes in her life are always helpful, she must now decide all things on the basis of whether they increase the helpfulness or hamper it. She will find that many, if not most, of the things she valued before will merely hinder her ability to transfer what she has learned to new situations as they arise. Because she has valued what is really valueless, she will not generalize the lesson for fear of loss and sacrifice. It takes great learning to understand that all things, events, encounters, and circumstances are helpful. It is only to the extent to which they are helpful that any degree of reality should be accorded them. In this world of illusion, the word value can apply to nothing else. The third stage through which the teacher of God must go can be called a period of relinquishment. If this is interpreted as giving up the desirable, it will engender enormous conflict. Few teachers of God escape this distress entirely. There is, however, no point in sorting out the valuable from the valueless unless the next obvious step is taken. Therefore, the period of overlap is apt to be one in which the teacher of God feels called upon to sacrifice her own best interests on behalf of truth. She has not realized as yet how wholly impossible such a demand would be. She can learn this only as she actually does give up the valueless. Through this, she learns that where she anticipated grief, she finds a happy lightheartedness instead. Where she thought something was asked for, she finds a gift bestowed on her. Now comes a period of settling down. This is a quiet time in which the teacher of God rests a while in reasonable peace. Now she consolidates her learning. Now she begins to see the transfer value of what she has learned. Its potential is literally staggering, and the teacher of God is now at the point in her progress at which she sees in it her whole way out. Give up what you do not want and keep what you do. How simple is the obvious, and how easy to do. The teacher of God needs this period of respite. She has not yet come as far as she thinks, yet when she is ready to go on, she goes with mighty companions beside her. Now she rests a while and gathers them before going on. She will not go on from here alone. The next stage is indeed a period of unsettling. Now must a teacher of God understand that she did not really know what was valuable and what was valueless. All that she really learned so far was that she did not want the valueless, and that she did want the valuable. Yet her own sorting out was meaningless in teaching her the difference. The idea of sacrifice, so central to her own thought system, has made it impossible for her to judge. She thought she learned willingness, but now she sees that she does not know what the willingness is for, and now she must attain a state that may remain impossible to reach for a long, long time. She must learn to lay all judgment aside and ask only what she really wants in every circumstance. Were not each step in this direction so heavily reinforced, it would be hard indeed. And finally, there is a period of achievement. It is here that learning is consolidated. Now what was seen as merely shadows before become solid gains to be counted on in all emergencies as well as tranquil times. Indeed, the tranquility is their result, the outcome of honest learning, consistency of thought, and full transfer. This is the stage of real peace, for here is heaven's state fully reflected. From here, the way to heaven is open and easy. In fact, it is here. Who would go anywhere if peace of mind is already complete? And who would seek to change tranquility for something more desirable? What could be more desirable than this? Today's list of descriptions applies to the first trait in the list of traits that advanced teachers of God gain. The Manual for Teachers doesn't do this for any of the other traits that follow. It's very interesting. Perhaps this is, in essence, the initiation from someone who has merely made the choice that begins their journey home to one who becomes an advanced teacher. Perhaps that is one way to look at it. But yes, all of what is described here today is specifically in application to the development of trust, which was described as the belief that basically the nature of the universe is benevolent, and that no matter how things appear in the outer illusory experience, the experience is inherently safe. So if we look at it from this perspective, the initiation of someone who has made the decision to be committed to love because they have made the decision to see that their interests are the same as the interests of another, and another is the same as them, there will come a time where they have a period of undoing. And I like to remind myself that it doesn't need to be painful, even though it tends to be experienced that way. That's what it says. It need not be painful, but it usually is so experienced. It seems as if things are being taken away. And it says that the reason for that is that their lack of value is being recognized. Now, it is good for us to remind ourselves that what we see in the outside world is a dream that we're generating. We are the source of that dream. So if we dream that something is being taken away from us, there must be a reason for it. From my reading in A Course in Miracles, the Holy Spirit working with us seeks to be gentle and seeks to avoid causing us trauma, because when we are traumatized by something, when we are in a state of fear, we flee back into illusion. And the Holy Spirit is trying to gently lead us so that that doesn't happen, or it happens less or to a lesser extent. We are the ones who create the resistance. So, for example, we may dream that a loved one has died, and because the belief that death is permanent is extremely strong, think about it. How often do the dead reclaim life in the dream illusion? We don't see it happen. That is a signal to how strong the belief is that is holding in place what we see reflected in the dream. But we are told, in essence, in the holy relationship, that there are no goodbyes, that there don't need to be. Because when we relinquish something to the Holy Spirit transforms it into a happier illusion, a happier dream. And death is not a happy illusion or a happy dream. In life, the soul that was Jesus promised that those that followed the principles would not see death. Therefore, when we see death, we are not following the principles. This is not a judgment. It is to be expected. It's what happens in the illusion. We are caught up in the illusion, and as a result, we will see the sorts of things that have been going on in the illusion for a long, long time and have very, very strong momentum attached to them. We are simply invited to remind ourselves that there is a better way, and it doesn't have to be this way. It is a softening of that rock-solid belief in limitation and loss. So, very early on in the Course, it describes that we have upside-down thinking in everything, and so our thinking has to be turned right side up. And when you flip something over, there's going to be some chaos in that flipping, especially if what is being flipped is very complex, which the illusion has become. The separation cannot help but result in complexity compounding and compounding the longer time in the illusion goes on. Also earlier in the Course, we are told that the Holy Spirit loves a happy learner. When we are in a state of having dropped our resistance and trusting the process, we can learn happily. And it is also explained earlier in the Course that joy is a much better teacher than pain, because pain is an illusion and is not real. Joy is real. What is real is a better teacher than what is an illusion. But if we must learn by pain, so be it. So we can make it more gentle by softening our own resistance, by being gentle with ourselves. If we forgive ourselves and are kind to ourselves and kind to everyone else, A Course in Miracles tells us that it gentles the illusion, it gentles the way it appears. We have some measure of control over how the illusion changes in response to flipping our thinking entirely upside down. How gentle do we want it to be? It can be as gentle as we want it to be, if we would be gentle with ourselves and gentle with everyone else, because that's the whole point. We've been shown that relinquishing something to the Holy Spirit doesn't mean that it disappears from the dream. It means that the Holy Spirit makes it beautiful, loving. The Holy Spirit creates a dream in which everyone wins. And it describes in this section how one of the reasons why these changes are so rough for us is because our belief in sacrifice is so strong. We believe in the principle of sacrifice, and so it shows up in the dream because we believe in it. Many have interpreted this section to mean that it is just expected that people who study the Course and really begin living it are going to have a really rough time. And hey, you're listening to the Paradise Unicorn Priestess here. I'm all rainbows and glitter. I believe in paradise. I believe in the gentleness of A Course in Miracles. It is mind-boggling how often it uses the word gentle and forms of that word and descriptions that describe what is meant by gentleness. That is my trust. When you're having a lucid dream and something really scary happens in the dream, and then you remember that it is a dream, the thing that happens in the dream gentles because you don't want bad stuff to happen in the dream. You want a happy dream. The Holy Spirit wants a happy dream for you. What I see described here in this reading today is the importance of giving up our judgment on what we think is valuable, our judgment on everything, trusting that love will be gentle with us, which means a gentle dream, not a hellish dream. So let us trust from the beginning that the Holy Spirit can manage us flipping completely upside down, a 180-degree turn where gravity works the other way, this complicated thing with all these moving parts, because that's the dream that we've generated over time, that the Holy Spirit can manage it with the miracle and make the transition gentle. To me, that's what trust is. And when we trust that much, it shows up in the dream. And the Holy Spirit would rather have it be that way, because when we are in a state of trust, when we're being gentle with ourselves and gentle with others, that's when we're able to offer the healing and offer the blessing and offer the miracle. When we're in a state of panic, we are an unhealed healer. Our ability to bless others is extremely limited. That has also been described in the Course. So let us remember that relinquishment is not what we might fear that it is. It doesn't mean, in the worst case scenario that, oh my gosh, everybody I love is going to die or something. Like, that's just a worst case scenario, obviously. No, that's not how the Holy Spirit rolls. It's a dream, remember? If you dream of someone dying, there's a reason why you dreamed that. There's a reason I dreamed that. And yeah, death is a problem because our belief about it is so solid. We don't see people come back from it ever, not unless it's like a near-death experience sort of thing, and that's far in the minority. So that's just a worst case scenario. There's a lot of unpleasant things that happen in the dream that are not someone you love dying. It's just an example, and it's a powerful example because it seems so final and irreversible. A lot of other seemingly bad things that happen in the dream can, in effect, be reversed. And I'd like to remind everyone that A Course in Miracles invites us to be bold and have the first miracle we perform be the undoing of death. It's like, hey, there's no order of difficulty in miracles. Bringing someone who died back to life is no harder than any other miracle that is possible. It is only our resistance to it that holds it in place. It's kind of asking us to have this paradigm shift, to really believe, really get that this is an illusion, a simulation, a hologram, a dream, and we are generating it. It's not being generated by someone else and us being stuck in it. It describes that in an earlier part of the text as that's how we tend to see it, that we are at the mercy of somebody else's dream and we're just a character in it, being made to dance like a shadow on the wall. It's like, no, you are generating the dream. You have the ultimate control. The reason why bad stuff shows up is because you had thoughts of not love. End of story. If we had only loving thoughts, then only beautiful things would show up in the illusion, and that would bring us close enough to heaven for God to step in and receive us back where illusions are no longer needed. So I just want to soften the way that this piece of text is usually taken and just point right back to the beginning where it says, this doesn't have to be experienced as painful. It just usually is. All right, let's get real here for a second. I do not mean to imply that a student of A Course in Miracles, as they begin to embrace the principles, are not going to experience the death of loved ones. In fact, for that to happen would be nearly impossible because of the strength of our belief in death as a limitation and as an inevitability. In fact, it could be said that when it comes to death, we are in the state where we must attain a belief state beyond it, but we're not going to for a long, long time because of how much we believe in it. And everyone around us also believes in it. And that consensus reality is so full of resistance, so full of pain to one who begins to develop trust, since it is near inevitable that we will experience the death of our loved ones. We're not ready to have death stop existing in the dream that we're having. Instead, we may experience that after our loved ones have died, the veil between us and the shard of God that is them and still perceives itself as them on some level, we will be able to experience a deeper communion with that perhaps was not even possible when they were incarnated, because as the Course reminds us, bodies cannot join. Only minds join, and in fact are already joined. So if it becomes crystal clear to us that our loved one who died has not actually gone anywhere, that they live forever within us because that's where everything is, then that experience completely changes our view of what is real and what is not. In today's passage, it speaks of the teacher of God learning what to value and what not to value, and that only things that actually have value should have any amount of reality accorded to them, since everything is a dream illusion. What does that mean? We can cross-reference this with another part of the text of A Course in Miracles that says the only reality that anything has in the illusion is the love that we give it. Therefore, the illusions in themselves have no value, but our love has great value. There's another part of A Course in Miracles where it says that the Holy Spirit must love what we love, because that's what love does. When you love someone, you value what they value, not because the thing they value has value, but because they have value. The one you love has value. That's the whole reason why you share the value. So love, the love we give, is the only reality that anything in the illusion has. This is important to remember. We have this idea expressed that one phase of learning trust is the sorting out, but later comes a phase where we realize our sorting out was meaningless because we don't know how to sort. We don't have the information needed to do the sorting, and that is where the trust deepens. We basically turn that function over to the Holy Spirit where it belongs. We ask the Spirit of love to judge for us. We relinquish our judgment on what has value. All right, after we review what is the Christ found in show notes, we go on to lesson 273, the stillness of the peace of God is mine. Perhaps we are now ready for a day of undisturbed tranquility. If this is not yet feasible, we are content and even more than satisfied to learn how such a day can be achieved. If we give way to a disturbance, let us learn how to dismiss it and return to peace. We need but tell our minds with certainty, the stillness of the peace of God is mine, and nothing can intrude upon the peace that God herself has given to her child. Mother, your peace is mine. What need have I to fear that anything can rob me of what you would have me keep? I cannot lose your gifts to me. And so the peace you gave your child is with me still, in quietness and in my own eternal love for you. All right, my friends. Let us remember Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who were made to go into a fiery furnace, and they were not burned. They were left in there all night, and when the king came back the next morning, they walked out and their clothes and hair weren't even singed. Did they say as they walked into the furnace, the stillness of the peace of God is mine? And Daniel in the lion's den, where he went in with the very, very hungry lions, and he played with them like kittens, and no harm came to him. This is a dream, and it can be a happy dream when we forgive ourselves and forgive all others, when we relinquish attack thoughts, grievances, judgment of all kinds, and trust in the nature of the universe to be benevolent. And that's our lesson for the day. Happy practicing.